كتلان وبروفيسور ميقرو سيباستيان بروك عامينا هركي بو كنشيو شاتونويد ملتودحاية بلندن إنجلترا غالبا في صيحوينات قدرينا هويلان زبنو عامة وهي حاضر عامينا وهو لان ترجمة على أبو ميقرو مرفرم وعدك مشيلينا لدمحكي إيش مع الروحي. Dear doctor, what could you tell us about yourself?
That's always a difficult question. I got interested in Syriac when I was still a student, not so much through the university, but through traveling in the Middle East. And I went to Lebanon and Eastern Turkey, and on one of my visits to Eastern Turkey, I went to Mor Gabriel Monastery and to Mardin. And in fact, on my honeymoon with my wife, we traveled through Edessa, Orfa, and went on to Torabdin. And in Mardin, we had the wonderful privilege of meeting Chassid Dolabani. And that's a truly memorable day. We just went to the bishopric, and there was actually a manuscript that I was quite interested in his library. I didn't know he had it. So in the middle of having tea with him, I said, do you by any chance have a manuscript of Gregory of Nazianzus in Syriac? And he got up, went to the back room, and he brought it along. And it was just what I wanted, and he allowed my wife to photograph it for me. And so eventually I was publishing this text, and so in that edition there is a little mention of Chassid Dolabani with my deep gratitude. But what really impressed me about him was here was a man of not only great learning, and since then I've come to read his books and editions and appreciate that, but also his presence immediately struck one that here was a very holy person too, and a very friendly person, and this has left a huge impression on me. And when many years later, when I was soon after I got the teaching post in Oxford, the opportunity came to start up a fund for Syriac studies, and I had the possibility of suggesting a name. So I said, let's have it the Dolabani Fund. So his name is commemorated in Oxford. My colleagues who know nothing about him can't think what this name is, but it's an opportunity to tell them. So it was through meeting him and many others. In Lebanon, I met the late Malfona Abraham Noro and became great friends. And I saw him virtually every time I went to the Middle East. And he came to a number of Syriac conferences. And I last saw him about 6 months before he died. He was always so kind to me, sending me books and giving me information, introducing me to famous 20th century, well now 21st century Syriac writers. And so he's another to whom I'm truly grateful. So this was, meeting people from the Syriac communities was something that meant a great deal and hugely encouraged me in the sort of more academic side of my work, and it encouraged me to encourage my students to do the same. And in fact, several of my students from Oxford spent some time at Mor Gabriel Monastery. One was stayed with the sisters, and the other taught English, and well, both still work on Syriac. The woman is now, well, she's actually not very well physically, but she's kept up her Syriac. And the man who taught English is Dr. Andrew Palmer, who speaks classical Syriac and modern Syriac far better than I do. I don't even speak modern Syriac. I can understand a bit.
Yes.
But he now lives in Holland. So it was, every time I go to the Middle East now, it's usually to people from the Syriac communities. I know Hassio Hannah Gregorius in Aleppo well, and in fact I saw him quite recently, but not in Aleppo, but in Vienna at the Pro Oriente meeting. So, does that answer your question?
Yeah, it answers a part of my question. Yeah, because I know that we can say a lot more about you, Dr. Sebastian Brock, and you have a lot of knowledge and history within the academical world, and you played a big role in our church and in the academical world concerning our church and language. So we are very happy and proud for it. And we feel very blessed to have you here today and honored, so we thank you very much. And we would like to hear your thoughts and your view on Melthodhaye's annual meeting today.
Well, as I missed most of it,
Yeah.
it's a bit difficult to say, but I was extremely impressed by the large number of people who turned up and their enthusiasm and their willingness to listen to a lecture at the end of a tiring day without falling asleep. I think the initiative of founding Melthodhaye is wonderful because it fills a gap where there wasn't anything present at all. It provides an opportunity for people, especially young people, to learn about the Syriac heritage, which is quite difficult to do if you don't have some sort of guidance. So I'm extremely pleased and delighted and greatly honored too to be invited to come to this meeting. I think it has huge potential for the future, both through lectures and discussion groups, which may take a more general form or sometimes perhaps a more specialized form. People who are interested in studying particular writers or particular topics. There are many different possibilities that I think are going to be present. And I think it's a matter of finding out what people want, what they're interested in, and then giving them the opportunity, providing the opportunity for developing their interests and also drawing their attention to other possible interests, and so things grow. And certainly my sort of first introduction to Syriac was, well, I suppose, just one particular corner, but I discovered other things and yet other things, and it just grew and grew and grew. So I hope that will happen with Melthodhaye. And so I would certainly wish you all great success in the future. It's often hard work keeping people together, but it's very worthwhile. And I'd like to congratulate you on having achieved such a good first meeting, because as I know from trying to get people to come to lectures in Oxford, it's not always easy. There are other attractions. So I think it's wonderful that you've achieved this. So
thank you,
all
Dr.
the best.
Sebastian. Thank you very much.
No, not at all.
Todi.